Ever heard of off-road beasts so outrageous their price tags could buy you a mansion with a mountain view? Let's get into 8 monster rides that fit this description to the letter. You might know the first, but the last will definitely leave you stunned. Not many can pull off the EarthRoamer magic. Think of a Colorado mountain cabin and a truck in one insane package. The LTi. At nearly $700,000 and climbing past $837,000 once the options pile on, this Ford F5 50-based monster makes suburban mortgages look like loose change. The LTi doesn't just camp, it colonizes. Stretching 29 feet long and weighing about 17,000 pounds, this carbon fiber leviathan rumbles down trails like Paul Bunyan on wheels. A 6.7-liter power-stroke turbo diesel V8 churns out 330 horsepower, enough to lug its fortress-sized frame through forests, deserts, or snow-capped passes. With dual fuel tanks holding 95 gallons, it'll roam 1,000 miles before even thinking about a gas station. But it's inside where the EarthRoamer drops jaws. Forget sleeping bags. This thing serves up a Breckenridge floor plan, complete with leather captain's chairs, handcrafted oak cabinetry, a full bath, induction stovetop, wine rack, and a bed that feels less van life and more ski chalet. Solar panels feed an 11 kilowatt per hour battery bank so you can microwave, stream, and chill champagne in the middle of nowhere. Off-road? King shocks, custom suspension, worn winches, and 41-inch tires make forest trails look like suburban driveways. And despite weighing as much as 3 pickup trucks, it'll crawl hairpins and blast over rocks while keeping your silverware neatly magnet-locked in place. For the price of 300 acres in Colorado, you get this beast that turns every wilderness stop into prime real estate. Back in the late 1980s, when SUVs were still boxy workhorses, Lamborghini dropped a 6,780-pound V12 monster into the desert and created something the world had never seen. Only about 300 of these trucks were ever built, and today, surviving examples start at over $450,000. A figure that would make most homebuyers wince. Under the hood sits the same 5.2-liter V12 you'd find in a Countach, but reworked for rough terrain. With 444 horsepower on tap, the LM002 could hit 60 miles per hour in 7.7 seconds. Preposterous for a machine riding on tires the size of dining tables. Those Pirelli Scorpion run flats are specially designed for sand, rock, and even combat zones, making the LM002 just as comfortable storming dunes as it was cruising Italian streets. Inside, it is pure Lamborghini excess. Leather everywhere, wood trim, and switches that look like they belong in a fighter jet. Auxiliary plugs allow military radios to connect. The intake system is engineered to handle filthy fuel, and the suspension is strong enough to shrug off terrain that would break lesser 4x4s. Nicknamed the Rambo Lambo, LM002 is both a relic and a prophecy. It set the stage for today's luxury super SUVs, but none have matched its wild mix of absurd power, off-road grit, and flamboyant design. It's not just a truck, it's an untamed Lamborghini with a desert soul. If you love watching mechanical giants, this is the best time to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. The Rezvani Tank Military Edition isn't just an SUV. It's a rolling fortress with a price tag that can outmatch a luxury home. Starting at $259,000 and climbing past $400,000 with the right boxes ticked, this beast takes the idea of overbuilt and pushes it into another dimension. Designed to look like it rolled straight off a Hollywood set, the tank backs up its style with a demon-sourced V8 pumping out 1,000 horsepower. Yes, 4 times the grunt of most trucks on the road. But the real insanity lies in its armor. Bulletproof glass, body plating strong enough to shrug off high-caliber rounds, Kevlar protection for critical components, and even explosive shielding under its belly. Rezvani didn't stop there. This monster has electrified door handles, a pepper spray dispenser, smoke screens, blinding lights, and even EMP protection to fry enemy electronics. Basically, it's Batman's ride made legal for civilian roads. And yet, step inside and you're not in a war machine. You're in a luxury lounge. Napa leather seats, Alcantara trim, and even a Starlight headliner turn the cabin into something closer to a Rolls-Royce than an armored carrier. Add military-grade run-flat tires, night vision, sirens, and intercoms, and the tank proves it's just as much about survival as it is about showing off. This is one off-roader you buy when you want to make a statement. Your house may have walls, but this SUV is the fortress you can drive. If a regular Ford Raptor is a pit bull, the Hennessey VelociRaptor 6x6 is a full-blown T-Rex, stomping through your neighborhood with 6 sneakers the size of hot tubs. Stretching nearly 27 feet long and standing 7 feet tall, this monster doesn't just roll into a parking lot, it blocks out the sun. Hennessey's Texas lab cooked this thing up by taking the already ferocious F-150 Raptor R and saying, "Cool, but what if it had an extra axle, an 8-foot bed, and the stance of a rolling skyscraper?" Underneath the hood sits Ford's supercharged 5.2-liter V8, spitting out 700 horsepower in its standard form. Though Hennessey can push that into 4-digit insanity if your wallet is deep enough. And speaking of wallets, you'll need $500,000 just to start. That's right, $499,999 before you even think about custom touches. For that price, though, you're basically buying bragging rights to the ultimate end-of-days pickup. A 3-inch lift, 20-inch wheels wrapped in 37-inch off-road tires, and a second fully functional locking rear axle mean that traction improves by more than 50%. When the apocalypse comes, this thing won't just climb over abandoned cars, it'll haul them away for fun. Add in custom bumpers, LED light bars bright enough to signal aliens, and Hennessey badges reminding everyone this isn't a Ford anymore, it's a flex. The VelociRaptor 6x6 isn't just a truck. It shows that sometimes too much is exactly enough. Of course, it is absurd, unnecessary, but it is definitely glorious. When Mil-Spec Automotive builds a Hummer, subtlety doesn't just leave the room. It packs its bags, catches a flight, and changes its name. And that's the story of the M1R, a $412,000 reimagined H1 that takes the military brute you remember from the 90s and dresses it in a tailor-made suit stitched from Kevlar and yellow Napa leather. At its core, the M1R packs a rebuilt 6.6-liter Duramax diesel with over 800 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. That's aircraft carrier tugboat levels of shove. 6-piston brakes keep it in check, while long travel racing suspension and air-locking differentials make sure it laughs at terrain that would swallow most SUVs whole. Think dunes, rocky gullies, or just the steep driveway leading up to your clifftop villa. The exterior still screams H1, but Mil-Spec adds a metallic flake twist to its competition yellow paint, so your apocalypse tank glitters like a jewel under streetlights. Inside, every trace of plastic has been banished, replaced with anodized metals, billet aluminum, and leather so yellow it feels like stepping into a custom Italian handbag the size of a living room. Dual-zone climate control, electronic handbrake, and modern comforts round out a cabin that's equal parts bunker and boutique hotel. At $412,000, the M1R makes the new $112,000 Hummer EV look like an entry-level commuter. But that's the point. This machine isn't about making sense. It's saying, yes, I could have bought a mansion, but I chose an 8,000-pound diesel throne instead. Dropping $500,000 on a house is steep, but that's because you haven't met the Brabus XLP 900 6x6 Super Black. This 6-wheeled carbon fiber titan commands a price tag so colossal it makes real estate listings look like clearance sales. Forget mortgages, this is a mortgage on wheels, one that doesn't just park in your driveway, it is the driveway. The foundation is a Mercedes-AMG G63, but Brabus doesn't settle for a luxury SUV. They mutated into a land-devouring juggernaut. A twin-turbo V8, bored out to 4.5 liters, delivers 900 horsepower and a brain-melting 1,250 Nim of torque. That's enough to rocket this near 4-ton colossus from standstill to 62 miles per hour in just over 5 seconds, which is faster than most sports sedans that cost a tenth of the price. From a stretched frame, portal axles, forged 22-inch wheels wrapped in oversized rubber, to bodywork entirely redone in blacked-out carbon fiber. Every angle screams apocalypse chic. At close to 20 feet long, it doesn't share road space. It monopolizes it, casting shadows over cars that cost as much as its optional leather package. Inside, the extravagance continues. Brabus handcrafts every surface with quilted leather, anodized metals, and ambient lighting schemes better than 5-star hotels. Each stitch feels like it costs more than your monthly rent, and it probably does. The Super Black is proof that when money is no object, your garage can double as a real estate portfolio. You'd rather have a personal tank than a nicely built fence. Well, Rezvani built the Hercules 6x6 Military Edition just for you. Forget mortgages. This beast is the definition of liquidating your real estate portfolio and driving it straight into the desert. At first glance, it looks like a prop from a futuristic war movie. Matte gray body armor, ballistic bulletproof plating, steel ramming bumpers, and 6 enormous wheels that chew through terrain like a buzzsaw. But that's only the opening act. Under the hood lives a 7.0-liter, supercharged V8 with an outrageous 1,300 horsepower. Enough to make muscle cars, sports cars, and maybe even fighter jets nervous. Of course, you don't just buy a Hercules for its brawn. You buy it for the James Bond villain toolkit. Magnetic deadbolts? Check electrified door handles? Absolutely. Front and rear blinding lights? Naturally. There's even a smokescreen button, because sometimes merging into traffic calls for special effects. And while the outside screams military convoy, the inside whispers private jet. Black leather and Alcantara line the cabin. Custom switchgear controls your bag of party tricks, and space for the whole family means you can haul groceries right next to your night vision gear. It's equal parts fortress and lounge, ready for the school run or a survival run. Most people would gladly invest in property, but Rezvani's clientele prefers 6 wheels, bulletproof glass, and the smug satisfaction of knowing they bought the world's wildest toy instead of a backyard. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan Series II simply obliterates the idea that an SUV should be practical in the first place. Starting north of $400,000 and pushing past $540,000 with options, this isn't transportation. It's architecture on wheels, priced like a modern mansion, but far more mobile and infinitely more indulgent. Named after the largest diamond ever discovered, the Cullinan Series II sparkles in its own way. Its enormous Pantheon grille, spirit of ecstasy standing proud, and basket weave wheels scream wealth with a whisper, not a shout. Opt for the Black Badge Edition, and suddenly it's dripping in dark chrome. Intimidation wrapped in elegance. Inside, Rolls-Royce proves why it remains in a league of its own. The digital dash spans the cockpit in understated sophistication, while round motifs in the steering wheel, turbine vents, and dials deliver consistency that feels like design poetry. Carbon fiber basket weave trim, retractable champagne chillers, and a starlight headliner make every journey feel like an evening gala. Even the rear passengers are treated like royalty, with motorized tray tables and headrests that adjust at the push of a button. Yet this rolling cathedral isn't afraid of dirt. Its all-wheel drive system and elevated ground clearance mean it can saunter through mud, snow, or rutted tracks without breaking a sweat. Beneath the hood lies a thunderous V12 engine that somehow makes 2.5 tons of handcrafted steel and leather glide with effortlessness. The famous Rolls-Royce Magic Carpet Ride. For the price of a luxury condo in Manhattan, the Cullinan Series II delivers something even rarer: presence. The next time someone talks about investing in real estate, remember, some folks are parking their money in a safe house that can glide across any terrain and take on doomsday in one full sweep.